Hello, everybody. My name is Simon Fiore, and I am a licensed realtor out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the founder of Fintracker. Fintracker was designed for myself in my little office here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, to try and streamline the Fintrack process, avoiding deficiencies in submissions, saving time, paper, and of course, money for everyone. As an agent, I took the path of least resistance, and I would take photos of my clients' IDs and recall them to complete the forms at my leisure. Unfortunately, these forms need to be submitted before the transaction closes, or at least with your offer to purchase or listing documents. This way, your office can assess risk and decide if a suspicious transaction report is required. However, this process can be used as a know your client process. In other industries, it's called a KYC form. Use this process to start conversations and get to know your clients better. So today, we're going to show you a wonderful solution to streamlining the process. Head to the App Store, register yourself, and synchronize yourself with the proper board or real estate company and the right office. Once you have done so, you'll receive a welcome email with a tutorial video and a temporary password so that you can reset your password. Once you're into the app, you can also set up a Face ID to sign in, thumbprint biometrics, or a 4-digit PIN. This will give you an express sign-in method. I use Face ID. This is what the home screen looks like. And your incompleted forms will be sitting here once you scan your client's information and save it to incompleted forms. Let's show you how that works. Start a transaction, you press the plus icon on the bottom right. And the new remote ID verification process is for non-physically present clients. Or if you forgot to identify your client, you can send them this link and they'll identify themselves. We'll get to that after. In person, you should be using the new individual ID method. That's the second option there. Hit the scan tab. Quick instructions are to scan the barcode on the back of the driver's license or provincial ID cards, or scan the photo page on your passports where the encrypted data is. To start that scan, if the IDs are expired or fraudulent, we will detect that and notify you, ask for a current document. Once you have a current document, just hold that window over the ID. It will extract all the information to the form. What's remaining is occupation, and we'll say our client is a lawyer today, works at ABC Law, and the industry is Law Society. Yes, the Canadian Real Estate Association forms have only one occupation field, but what we ask you to do is gather the employment or the employer and industry, and we'll populate that to the one occupation field as auditors have been requesting we elaborate on this section. Once you've done that, you can press OK and save this for later. If that's the shortcut you're looking for to replace taking photos of your client's IDs, you can do that. It will not allow you to submit it until you have completed all of the mandatory fields. Your name, your brokerage is there by default. You designate it as a buyer or seller so your office knows if there's an offer or listing coming behind this. The Fintrack disclosure optional field will send a template to your clients letting them know why this is required by law, with a link to the Fintrack website. Again, that's optional. Map widget allows you to select the property using a map and will auto-populate city, province, postal code, avoiding abbreviated cities, provinces, and missing postal codes, as those are some of the most common deficiencies in submissions. Set that, you'll move on, and you have completed most of your form. All that remains is the third party, risk assessment, and we all know these fields very well. Residential property, in this case, business relationship is considered on every transaction now, and We've added some pre-populated additional measures to be taken. You can select one of these and we'll pre-populate it to this section. So ask a client to provide identification each time they do a transaction with the brokerage, and we ensure that the information is correct and up to date, of course. So you select that and we'll pre-populate it. If your office policy is to run the name through some known lists on or the internet, you can select that, we'll populate it. Another common method. Moving on, politically exposed is anybody themselves or anybody at arm's length with them that is head of international organization, politically exposed, and that includes sports organizations. So high-level sports organizations. If the answer is yes to any of these, you'll have to fill out a few more questions like position held, name of organization, etc. Most of the time, the answer will be none of the above. And you can move on by selecting asked individual. When did you do that? Today. Save. You've completed an individual ID form. At this stage, if there's another individual on the offer or the listing, you can add new individual ID, scan the second individual, and answer the remaining questions, repeating the process. The transaction property address will be auto-populated for you along with your name and your office. If they're representing a corporation, you can select the corporate ID, and again, we'll auto-populate to the best of our ability that form, leaving a few fields to complete manually. We're looking at bringing a corporate registry in that will search for the corporate ID and auto-populate the form in the near future. If there's a receipt of funds required, so if you're acting on behalf of a buyer and you're handing a deposit to a listing agent, or maybe you're representing both parties, listing and buying, or selling and buying, a receipt of funds would be required. We auto-populate your name, your brokerage to that form, transaction property address, your client's info. Now you complete the missing fields. And you can't make any mistakes with Fintracker. If you try and submit a form that is not complete, we'll take you to the missing fields. So don't be afraid to use this application. It's a wonderful introduction to technology. When was the receipt of funds done or taken? Today? Check. In the event you select bank draft, we remind you that the bank draft has the bank institution account information on it, and you will need to ask where the origins account is. Where did the funds come from? And identify that account under account number 2. For today, we'll keep it simple and we'll say it's just a personal check collected in person and deposit on a condominium. Here's where you would put your account information, name of account holder, financial institution, ABC Bank, type of account, let's go with checkings, and you're done. You've completed an individual ID form and a receipt of funds. Hit submit, select the 2 forms, hit next. And if you're using a document management system, you don't have to send the PDF to anybody. Just press submit again, open the PDF and upload. Or if your office is set up with a compliance officer, we've already saved this by default. So press submit twice. Do not send by PDF. If your office is requesting that you email the forms by PDF, then you can select this, enter the email address. But we prefer that you use our admin portal to submit forms. And if your office is not set up with that yet, have them reach out to us and we'll set them up. What does that form look like? Once it's completed, you can open up that form on your completed forms folder and have a look at it. It is the Canadian Real Estate Association licensed individual ID form, legible, all the information is where it's supposed to be, politically exposed form attached, even though you answered no. When did you ask and how you asked is important, that is documented. Moving on, that is a completed transaction. If you are working with a client again, you can go into New Individual ID and search their name here, recalling the data to the new form, enter the new transaction property address, make sure all the information is still current. If you're reusing this 6 months later, just know that their occupation may have changed or their home address may have changed. That is our search previous feature. When you're working with non-physically present clients, you must use a mandatory or a technology to authenticate and verify the document and the individual's identity. You can use our new remote ID process by entering the email address twice for your client. You will send them a link to the Fintracker app. We'll look for that last one that was sent. Here it is. The client receives this. Open this up. They'll agree to the terms and follow a few easy steps to identify themselves and finish their individual ID form. Canada, driver's license, add photo, and we do all international documents. They'll snap a quick image of the front of the ID and the back, and our AI software is now checking for the rounded corners on a Canadian driver's license, where the barcode is, where the text is, where the signature is there a sign of forgery, is it a real document? We'll also extract the data from the barcode and auto-populate it to the form on the Realtors app, so that when you go to your application, the semi-completed form will be there with the remaining fields to complete and submit. But first, before the client can complete, they must verify that this is indeed them on the document. They'll do that by agreeing to a biometric scan and a quick scan of their facial biometrics, which we verify and match against the ID piece. It's an AI software that remains within our Canadian server and just simply matches the characteristics of the image in the document against their facial biometrics. Once they're done, you will receive that in your incompleted folder with the emoji of a face in a scan box next to it. That's the third transaction down at the bottom, or the third file. And you'll open that up and complete the remaining fields like you would on a standard transaction. And I'll just go ahead and do that in real time. Set that as the address. The report attached by law now has a checklist of everything we checked for, including a timestamp and an IP address the individual conducted this transaction. That's there by default, and you can rest assured that everything is accurate. Occupation, let's say the client again is a lawyer, ABC Law, and Law Society is the industry. No third party involved, Canadian citizen. In this case, it was a remote ID, non-physically present, for a residential property. We asked the individual to provide current document. No, they're not politically exposed. I've asked the question. When did I determine that? Today. Save and submit. Record could not be saved. We have missed something on the transaction. All right, submit. Again, you can email the PDF or open the PDF and upload to your document management system. For those of you looking for help with some of these features, you can go into the Help tab, view tutorials. We have tutorials for each and every feature in the app, or contact support 24/7. We're here to help. Subscribe to our YouTube page, where we continue to upload new videos, or check out our website at fintracker.ca. Welcome to Fintracker, and get back to building relationships and let Fintracker help with your compliance.